All right, it's not even been 24 hours since the historic peace deal has been signed by Donald Trump and other Middle East leaders. And we already have reports that Hamas has executed collaborators in Gaza, and now fears are mounting that this peace deal is already at the risk of collapsing. We're going to talk about this today. We're going to talk about the entire peace deal. Many of you guys had emailed us and messaged us and wonder why we didn't talk about this yesterday, because this was an historic event, and yet, yes, it was. But over the years, we've learned to set on things and kind of give it time, let the dust settle, and then gather some more information and put the whole picture together. And that's why we purposely did that. So today, it's Tuesday, October the 14th, and we've got so much to unravel in this podcast. I'm going to show you, there's been questions that has circulated for a long time. Why did God spare Donald Trump? Why did that bullet miraculously miss his head? I'm going to show you why I believe that at least one of many reasons why God spared Donald Trump for such a time as this. I'm going to show you how this ultimate deal, I want you to remember that phrase, ultimate deal. This was right in our face all the way since 1985. I'm going to show you as of the date that this was signed, this historic peace agreement was on October the 13th, which was yesterday. I'm going to show you what happened in history that greatly impacted the Jews in the Middle East on October 13th, all the way in 353 BC. This is going to be profound, and I believe it has prophetic implications. I'm also going to talk about there is more harbingers. There is 4 green comets racing through our solar system right now that many people has never seen such a thing as this. You could actually take certain telescopes and you could see these. Now, 3 of these have recently been discovered, and the 4th one is this mysterious 3-eye atlas, which, again, the consensus is that it's a comet. So we're going to talk about all that. Then we're going to address, many of you guys have messaged me and you've reached out to me and said, hey, did you hear about this alleged prophet Brandon Biggs and his alleged vision that he had in 2024 about the New Madrid fault line? We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about his vision. We're going to talk about all that today as well. So we got, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about. So buckle up. Let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, guys? It is Tuesday, October the 14th. This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. We want to welcome you to tonight's program. I am your host, Ricky Scaparo, the founder and the voice of End Time Headlines. Listen, do me a favor. If you're new, first time joining us, let us know in the chat right there on YouTube if you're watching the premiere of this. Maybe you're coming from Instagram or Facebook or X or wherever you're coming from, and this is your first time joining us, somebody invited you in, let us know in the comments right there in the chat. If you're watching the rebroadcast of this, let us know in the comments that you're new, where you guys are joining in from. The reason why we want you to do this is because we want to become acquainted with you. We hope that you enjoy our content, you stick around, and you will do us a favor and hit that like button. And everybody that's regular viewers, you know the drill. Hit that like button, help us push this out, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification as well, so that you don't miss any of our broadcasts here on YouTube. So we've got a lot to cover today. I want to get right into this, guys, because this is probably going to be a good 45-minute program today. All right, most of us know by now, unless you're hiding under a rock somewhere or you're completely off grid and you have no source of information, news, or media, or whatever the case may be, Trump celebrated this, quote, peace in the Middle East after signing a historic Gaza deal. He claims that, quote, it achieved the impossible. Now, we've got some video on this. We're going to get you up to par on everything that transpired yesterday, and we're just going to kind of build from that and go from there.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point. Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up, too.
Right off the bat, I mean, we have to do it. We have to interject right off the bat. This took 3,000 years. Let me rewind it. It's this literally right off the bat here.
This took 3,000 years to get to this point.
All right. So he's already boasting of it took 3,000 years and I am signing this peace agreement. And then listen to this next statement.
Can you believe it? And it's going to hold up too.
And it's going to hold up too. Well, we'll see about that because we've got some new information coming out today from regarding Hamas that there is fear circulating that this is already going to collapse. Who didn't see that coming? I mean, did you actually think that you're going to make a peace deal and a peace agreement with monsters? These people are monsters. They're evil. They're wicked. They're demonic. It's not going to happen. But nevertheless, let's go on.
It's going to hold up.
Let's get back to Caitlin. He was just wrapping up with some of the things we heard him say.
And look at that. This blew me away too. The portrayal of peace 2025. This was so massive. Let me rewind this right here. I want to show you this when they pan out right here. Look at that. Look how massive that is. Peace 2025. Look behind them. Peace in the Middle East. Now you want to talk about a prophetic billboard. You want to talk about a warning to a generation. You want to take an opportunity to open up a Bible and share this with your family, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors. What an opportunity. Wow, what an opportunity.
He was just wrapping up with some of the things we heard him say time and time again as he's had microphones throughout the day, Caitlin. But again, just the importance, I mentioned the imagery, and then of course the substance, which is, we believe, as you said, signing on to this 20-point deal, which even though we don't know what is going to really come next, what's going to take hold, just the idea of all of these people in one room in Sharm el-Sheikh signing on to any document is a very big deal.
Yeah, and this is something that Steve Witkoff, one of the president's top aides, hammered out the details of what those 20 points were going to look like. I mean, we saw draft versions where small things were changed or some points were entirely crossed out as they were working on this. And the president joked before he left here in Israel that, you know, given how late he was, maybe these world leaders would leave and they wouldn't wait on him to sign these documents. He showed up more than 4 hours late, Dana, but obviously they are all still there, including the ones who helped broker the seal at the table, leaders from Qatar, from Egypt, from Turkey, sitting with the president, as they were the ones who helped really get this deal over the line last week when the president came out on Thursday and confirmed that the ceasefire had been agreed to, and obviously we saw it take place, and then leading to that culmination with the 20 hostages who are still alive being released from Hamas's captivity today for the first time in over 2 years. And while certainly there are many steps ahead with the rest of what this plan that the president has envisioned and that he has gotten these other world leaders to sign on to looks like, one thing that he was referencing there is that there's been moments before where someone was unhappy with an agreement or someone didn't like part of it. The president feels like he has accomplished in this where at least there are leaders from the Arab world in agreement with this, and as they have been pushing for it. I still think there are questions, as we heard Prime Minister Netanyahu say earlier. He is committed to this peace, exactly what that's going to look like, because there are parts in this peace deal that Netanyahu doesn't agree with, including the formation eventually of a Palestinian state, something that he was just ruling out, Dana.
Whoa, hold on, let's stop here.
Because there are parts in this peace deal that Netanyahu doesn't agree with, including the formation eventually of a Palestinian state. Something.
Now, did you hear that? Maybe you missed that part. Netanyahu, in this 20-point agreement, is Trump's envision of a Palestinian state. Yes, Trump, that is part of the 20-point plan, is that eventually, and I want you got to keep this in the forefront of your mind because where we're going with this tonight. Eventually, this is a stepping stone, guys. This is a stepping stone prophetically, leading us to the push. Now, remember, Trump has 3 more years of office. He has 3 more years of office left in his presidency. And this right here, I believe the 2-state solution, by the way, the ultimate deal. Keep that phrase in your mind, because I'm going to show you something phenomenal in just a moment. That's the ultimate deal. This is something that Trump has envisioned for a long time, and you need to know that. Number 2, okay, eventually where this is going to lead. Think about this right here. You have a meeting of many nation and leaders, a meeting of many nation and leaders that are all there gathering together. Many nations are gathered. When you go over here to, let me pull this up. Again, this is all prophetic previews of where we're going. In Daniel 9:27, you're going to see that very thing. I believe that. If there's going to be a generation alive, now whether it be us, I don't know. I hope. Number 1, I hope that we're the generation. Number 2, I hope that I hope that the rapture happens before this. But if it doesn't, and we're here and we're alive to see the sign of this right here of Daniel 9:27, then we will see this. The point I'm trying to make is there will be a generation that will be alive on the earth and will witness, just like we saw yesterday. You will see a collaboration of leaders representing their nations around a table, around a press, being streamed live, and they will be, and this, whoever this Antichrist is, he is going to sign a treaty, and it will confirm. He will ratify a covenant with many. But this one will be different than all others, because this one, number 1, the timing of it. Number 2, it'll be the providence of God. Number 3, it'll be the Antichrist himself that will do this. And number 4, it'll be a covenant of many for 7 years. Now, there's a lot of stuff going around on the internet, of course, and on social media saying this is it. Jared Kushner's the Antichrist. He signed the covenant of 7 years, or Trump is, because he signed the covenant of 7. First of all, there's nowhere in this that said this is a 7-year treaty, right? Number 2, the temple in Jerusalem has not been constructed. All right. Number 3, the church is still here. Come on, guys. This is not happening right now. This is the blueprints, the framework, and the stepping stones leading up to that event. So I'm going to say that again. Let me make this really clear here. Donald Trump, listen to me carefully. I'm going to just go right into this right now, okay? Because this is kind of where we're being pushed into this right now. Donald Trump has expressed interest in brokering peace in the Middle East since the 2016 presidential campaign. He frequently referred to achieving an Israeli-Palestinian agreement, which he called, look it up, research it, the ultimate deal. Now, why is that important? Because I'm going to show you in just a moment. Let me read on and we're going to go back to this, okay? This vision became a key foreign policy priority during his term, starting in early of 2017 when he asked his son and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, to lead efforts to develop a comprehensive plan. Trump's emphasis, he emphasized a peace through strength approach, moving away from traditional frameworks like a 2-state solution if both parties preferred alternatives, and he aimed to foster economic prosperity as a foundation for lasting stability. Sound familiar? This was his vision in 2017. Now we're seeing this come to fruition. Ready? His long-term vision culminated in the formal unveiling of the Peace to Prosperity Plan in January 28th of 2020. So that was 5 years ago, which he dubbed the, quote, deal of the century. This proposal sought to resolve the decades-old Israeli-Palestinian conflict by combining political and economic components. It's basically the carrot on the stick approach. All right, the plan was divided into 2 parts, which was a political framework and an economic vision. The political framework of this It proposed the creation of a demilitarized Palestinian state encompassing 70% of the West Bank with land swaps, all of Gaza and additional territory in the Negev Desert for industrial and residential development. Israel would retain sovereignty over major settlement blocks in the Jordan Valley, annexing around 30% of the West Bank. Again, Judea, Samaria, that's all part of that. Jerusalem would remain Israel's undivided capital, but Palestinians could establish their capital in eastern suburbs like Abadis. Jerusalem would remain Israel's undivided capital, but Palestinians could establish their capital in eastern suburbs. This was in the proposal of Trump in 2020. All right? The plan included provisions for Palestinian refugees, rejecting a broad right of return to Israel, but offering compensation and resettlement options. Borders would be connected via tunnels, bridges, and roads to ensure contiguity. All right, then the economic vision. What he termed peace to prosperity. It outlined a $50 billion investment over 10 years to boost the Palestinian economy, focus on infrastructure, education, healthcare, and governance reforms. The goal was to double Palestinian GDP, create over 1 million jobs, and reduce unemployment and poverty rates significantly. Funding would come from international donors with emphasis on private sector involvement. All right, now, what are you trying to say, Brother Ricky? I'm trying to say what he envisioned in 2020 through his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has now become a reality. Now, of course, there's been some things that didn't pan out the way he wanted, and other things did pan out the way he wanted. But as a whole, this vision that Trump presented, that he had on paper, that he had in framework, has now become a reality. And I want to go back up here and I want to make this statement again. Trump expressed interest in brokering a peace in the Middle East since his 2016 presidential campaign, wherein which he frequently referred to achieving an Israeli-Palestinian agreement that he called, and he termed this, the ultimate deal. Now, why is that significant? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I want to show you something I think is profound. What I'm looking at is profound. And I know you guys listening by Apple or by Spotify cannot see this, and I apologize, and you need to come over here and check this out. On the cover of Manhattan Incorporated, this was published in 1985, there is a depiction of Donald Trump, a younger Donald Trump with a lot more hair, darker hair, and holding a dove. Now, a dove that represents peace, right? Look at the title, Donald Trump's Ultimate Deal by Ron Rosenbaum. Now, I've never heard of this because I was very young in 1985. So I've never heard of this, never knew it existed. But I did a little research on it. The article in question is a profile and interview piece written by journalist Ron Rosenbaum, originally published in the November 85 issue of Manhattan Incorporated magazine. It was later reprinted in Rosenbaum's 89 anthology, Manhattan Passion, a Ron Rosenbaum reader which collected some of his notable works from the magazine. The full headline, Trump, the Ultimate Deal. Wow. In which we see the world through the eyes of Gaddafi's pilot, which sets a satirical tone for what is essentially a blend of serious discussion on nuclear proliferation risks with humorous, exaggerated portrayals of Donald Trump's personality and ambitions as a young real estate mogul. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you, why is this profound? Let me pull it back up. I want to pull the image back up because I want to show you something here. I want to tell you something, but I want you to get this visual of this. What if I told you that God Almighty knew Donald Trump was going to one day be the president of the United States of America all the way back then? And not only did he know by his foreknowledge. Of course he does, right? You guys know this. He's the beginning, the end, the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega. Of course he knows this. But remember, God told Jeremiah, and I'm not referring, and please don't twist my words. I'm not comparing Donald Trump to Jeremiah the prophet. I'm trying to use this as an example here. God spoke to Jeremiah and says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and I ordained you as a prophet. In the book of Daniel, God says he sets up kings and sets down kings. Kings, aka leaders, aka political figures, aka rulers, princes, kings, okay? It's God who sets them up and sets them down and ordains them for his purpose. God called Nebuchadnezzar, a man who didn't even serve God, my servant. Okay? So I believe with all my heart, if you want to know why, one of the major reasons why this man right here was spared by God supernaturally and did not be taken out when that attempted assassination came is because God has ordained this man to be used for such a time as this to broker the blueprints and the very foundation of where we need to get to in Daniel 9:27. I listen, you're not going to change my mind on that. I 100% believe that with all my heart, and even more so after this came to surface like this. You've got to be kidding. So you're telling me it's just a coincidence that this man in 1985 was on a cover of a magazine holding a dove that represents peace, and it says the ultimate deal. And then in 2016, in his first administration, he talked openly about brokering a peace in the Middle East, what he called the ultimate deal. Now, don't miss this. You got to get this, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. This is not over. This has just begun. This signing of this Gaza ceasefire deal, this quote unquote treaty, this quote unquote peace deal, this is just the beginning. Because in Trump's own ambitions, the next step, now it could be in the next 3 years, it's going to have to be in the next 3 years because he's only got 3 more years of his term. Then if he was successful in this, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. The next step is going to be a Palestinian state. All right, let's go back to this. I want you to hear this one more time.
Leaders from the Arab world in agreement with this, and as they have been pushing for it. I still think there are questions, as we heard Prime Minister Netanyahu say earlier. He is committed to this peace. Exactly what that's going to look like, because there are parts in this peace deal that Netanyahu doesn't agree with, including the formation eventually of a Palestinian state, something that he was just ruling out, Dana, a month ago when he
eventually a Palestinian state that he ruled out months ago, but now he's reluctantly signed off on it. So now even Netanyahu's capitulated with this. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. It's happening.
It's in New York. And so obviously a lot of things to watch closely here. But the president clearly emboldened by today and relishing in this moment of what was a huge foreign policy goal of his when he re-entered the Oval Office.
Yeah, and has been a foreign policy goal for presidents for decades. Obviously, this time is very different because there was very much a hot war, and that has now, for the time being, and hopefully for a very long time, has come to an end. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate.
All right, I'm going to go to another video. Now that was CNN. For everybody that freaks out about the left-wing propaganda, let's go to Fox News.
This breakthrough that we're here to celebrate tonight is more than the end of the war in Gaza. It's with God's help, it'll be the new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East.
President Trump thanked Egyptian President al-Sisi, who hosted the talks last week that led to the breakthrough in Gaza and the release of hostages today. He recognized the terrible loss of 3 Qatari negotiators who died in a tragic car accident after the deal was agreed to. President Trump also thanked Turkey's President Erdogan and called out the many Middle East leaders.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about Erdogan. Look at this headline. Speaking of Erdogan from Turkey, Trump planned to invite Netanyahu to Gaza's summit aborted. He aborted his invite to Netanyahu to Gaza summit after Erdogan's warning. What was this all about? Let's read this. A last-minute plan by Donald Trump to invite Benjamin Netanyahu to a multinational Gaza summit in Egypt had to be aborted after the Turkish president, Erdogan, said he, quote, would not land his plane if the invitation stood. The mid-air power struggle started after it was announced that Israeli Prime Minister had accepted a late invitation from Trump to the conference being jointly chaired by the U.S. president and his Egyptian counterpart. Netanyahu's presence at the summit in Egypt had apparently been sealed by Trump in a phone call from Israel on Monday morning with Sisi. It is not clear if Erdogan's refusal to land for summit was caused by Netanyahu, changing his plans, but it's known that he spoke to Sisi to raise his objections from his plane above Egypt. All right, so let's go back to this.
Who he praised for having the wealth to rebuild Gaza.
Excellency President, you have demonstrated that genuine leadership doesn't mean war waging, rather the ability to bring it to a halt. We trust your leadership that is capable to carry out the current deal.
Peace has been achieved after untiring efforts. Efforts led by President Trump, who is genuinely a man of peace. And
again, guys, my prophetic wheels are spinning all over the place. Here you have, listen to what that man is saying. Here you have, he's like, Donald Trump is a man of peace. We have peace in the Middle East. And then right behind this man is Kim Starmer, who is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who's pushing a digital identification system mandatory for you to even be able to work in the United Kingdom, which is an absolute picture of the mark of the beast. So look at all this. Look at all these prophetic implications right in front of us for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear.
Today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Greeted the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who just a few
that might happen next year, but it won't happen
weeks
this year.
ago was barred from attending the United Nations General Assembly because the State Department would not authorize a visa. How the Middle East has changed since then, Martha. 20 living Israeli hostages returned home today. 4 of the 28 dead hostages returned from Hamas to their families here in Israel. We expect more in the coming days, but a little bit disappointing for some of those Israeli families. And then nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees returned to cheering crowds in the Gaza Strip, where the rebuilding is going to begin.
All right, now, it's been not even 24 hours later. I want to get you right into this. Hamas executes collaborators in Gaza as it clings to power amid fears Trump's peace deal is already at risk. All right, horrifying footage has emerged which shows Palestinians being executed by Hamas, sparking fears that the Gaza peace deal is already at risk of collapsing as the terror group tries to cling to power. In disturbing footage circulating on social media, a group of men can be seen kneeling on the ground with their hands behind their backs. Armed militants, some wearing Hamas-style headbands, stand behind the victims with their faces covered before gunshots ring out and the 7 kneeling men fall to the ground, apparently lifeless. Cheering crowds scream Allah Akbar or God is great and brand the executed men collaborators while filming the scenes on their phones. A Hamas source confirmed the authenticity of the video. Hamas has already recalled around 7,000 members of its security force to reassert control over areas of Gaza recently vacated by Israeli troops. U.S. Trump suggested yesterday Hamas had been given a green light for internal security operations, saying militants wants to stop the problems and we gave them approval for a period of time. This new video now has sparked concern among observers coming just days after Trump broker peace deal came in effect. In fact, it was just yesterday. I don't know why they're saying days. Analysts are also concerned that Trump's peace deal could be at risk by the failure of Hamas to return the bodies of all 28 Israeli hostages that died in captivity. So far, they've only released 4. So again, guys, this should not be surprising or shocking to any of us. Everybody knew this. You can't make peace with these monsters. It's never going to work. It's never going to hold. And again, we knew that. You guys knew that. Everybody with a brain knows that. So, when these statements are made that for the first time in 3,000 years, peace has come, peace will hold, this will stay, it will hold together. No, according to the Bible, it will not. It will not hold together. It will eventually collapse. And now we're going to move forward here with this podcast. I'm going to show you something absolutely profound. And let's go into the prophetic implications of this, okay? I want to talk about yesterday on Monday, October the 13th of 2025 was it was Tishri 215786 on the Hebrew calendar. Now, why is that significant? Because every day you can go and research that there is a Torah reading that happens on certain days. And also you can go to a site and you can read, and let me just pull this up. I'll pull it right up and I'll show you what I'm looking at here. And again, this is the chabad.org. You can look at this. Again, this is from yesterday when this quote unquote peace deal was signed, this peace treaty. You can see the date right here, Monday, October 13, 2025. And this is, again, 21 Tishri 5786 on the Hebrew calendar. Again, this was the Torah reading of that day. But here is what really stood out to me. On that day, yesterday, Monday, October the 13th, all right, on that very day in history, look at this. I'm going to read this as you're looking at it. The prophet Haggai received a divine message to pass on to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, ruler of Judah, Joshua, son of Jehozadak, the high priest, and the remnant of the nation. And this is, you can find this in Haggai chapter 2, verse 1. Ready? He was instructed to encourage them to continue their efforts to build the second temple, whose construction had been halted some 17 years prior. Wow. Are you kidding me? So you're telling me on the very day of October 13th of 353 BC, that was the day that Haggai received a divine message to pass down to encourage them to continue their efforts to build the second temple, whose construction had been halted for 17 years prior, and that was in 353 BC. And here we are in 2025, and you have Donald Trump signing an historic peace agreement in the Middle East with many nations in the Middle East, and which is a prelude to Daniel 9:27, a covenant with many, which, by the way, is signed by the Antichrist, established and affirmed by the Antichrist. And then the Bible says that 42 months after that, or 3.5 years after that covenant of many is established, he breaks the treaty, invades Jerusalem, and sets up his headquarters in, you ready for this? The temple in Jerusalem. And what have they been talking about, guys? For years now, they've been talking about the establishment, the building, and construction of a third temple in Jerusalem. Everything has been ready. There is controversy surrounding the red heifers. Some say that it was there was an actual sacrifice. Some say that it was just a dry run. Again, others say it was the real thing, and they're all waiting. Now, I want to remind you, the reason why they didn't carry out the full ritual and get this thing going is because of Hamas. You do realize that, right? What they did 2 years ago in Israel halted their plans. I'm talking about the Temple Institute, the Jewish Sanhedrin, those priests in Jerusalem, all them that are associated with that ritual, with the building and construction of the third temple, the red heifers, all that. All of that was, a wrench was thrown in the whole thing because of the atrocities that took place in 2023. But now that there's quote unquote peace in the Middle East, for who knows how long, if it holds together, and I'm just saying this, I'm not saying I have a prophetic word, I'm just telling you, could it be possible that now the green light has been given for the construction of the third temple? It would be very interesting, guys, if we see in the coming months, weeks, months, whatever the case may be, if we start seeing more stuff begin to surface about the going forward of building and constructing the third temple. And I say that based on, I don't think it's a coincidence. Again, there's too many coincidences going around here. Trump was on the cover of a magazine in 85 and it said the ultimate deal, and now he brings to fruition the ultimate deal. And he's holding a dove, and it's peace in the Middle East. Yeah, right. I'm sure that's a coincidence. It's a coincidence that he was spared from assassination for such a time as this. All these are coincidences. And then he establishes this so-called peace treaty on the 13th of October of 2025. And on this very same day of 353 BC, the Lord himself instructed Haggai to encourage those who would be used and instrumental in this to continue their efforts to build the second temple in Jerusalem, which was destroyed in 70 AD. And now there is ambitions to construct and build a third temple in Jerusalem. And by the way, according to Revelation chapter 11, it will happen. And according to the book of Daniel, according to the book of Revelation, and according to 2 Thessalonians, that will be the future headquarters of the Antichrist. Wow. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. And then you've got these harbingers. We've talked about this. You go back, read our archives. We talked about comets and how they're harbingers. The ancients viewed these as harbingers. They knew this. They understood this. And we don't have one. We don't have two. We don't have three. But we have four. Four comets racing through our solar system at the exact moment in human history where global events are about to go nuts. Again, this is an article, and this was some information that was pulled together by Michael Snyder on themostimportantnews.com. Now, Snyder asked this question. I'm going to ask you this. Have you ever heard of four giant green comets roaring through our solar system at the exact same time, let alone one? One is incredible in itself, but four? You have Comet Atlas, Comet Lemon, and Comet Swan, all visible from the Earth right now. Then you couple this with interstellar visitor 3i Atlas that will be visible from our planet as soon as it swings around the sun. Now again, the most of the population could care less. They're oblivious to this. They don't look at it. They don't see it. They don't perceive these things. But these things are seen and are known as harbingers to the ancients and to those who understood the times and seasons in which we're in. All right, Comet Lemon was discovered on January 3rd of this year, and it will be closest to the Earth on October the 21st. Okay, Comet Swan was discovered on it was just discovered, and it will be visible or closest to the Earth on October 20th. Then you have Comet Atlas. It was just recently discovered back in May, and its closest approach will be this coming Wednesday. And then you have the interstellar comet of 3i Atlas that was discovered back in July, and it will make its closest approach to Earth on December the 19th, literally days before Christmas on our Gregorian calendar. According to official NASA website, at this time, it will be, and you could take that for what you want, approximately 1.8 astronomical units away on December the 19th. So the point I'm trying to make is, guys, Jesus said in Luke 21, there will be signs in the sun, the moon, and stars, great and fearful sights from heaven, men's hearts failing them for fear of the expectations of the things which are coming upon the earth, the waves and seas roaring, men's hearts failing them, on the earth distress of nations with perplexity. All of this is happening quickly. The birth pangs are intensifying. It's increasing. Now, I've got another video I want to play here because I want to make a point here, guys. Because people get all excited about this stuff, and then if they know the Bible, this is why you need to know the Word of God, because then it's going to help you to decipher what's true, what's not, what's hyperbole, what's embellishment, and all this. So I want you to hear this statement from Donald Trump here. Let's check it out.
As I said earlier, I intend to be a partner in securing a better future. We're going to be working, you're going to be working with the United States, and we're going to make sure that the Middle East is going to be a safe and secure place. It's a very important place in the world, means so much. There were so many people who said the Middle East, and this has been going for many, many decades. I've read it many times, that World War III will begin in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Trump said it's not going to happen.
There was a time that you would have thought it could have, but it's not going to happen. There won't be World War III, hopefully at all. But
again, this blows my mind, guys. This guy is surrounded by quote unquote spiritual advisors, and yet he says these things that are just not biblical. I want to show you something here real quick. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, but concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, and this is what Trump is doing, by the way, then suddenly, and I'm not saying he's the Antichrist, because remember, you've heard me talk about this, there is primary and secondary fulfillments of prophecy. There's a primary interpretation, but then there could be a secondary. The primary of this is the Daniel 9:27 covenant with many, that this is when they will say peace and safety, because the Antichrist will sign that covenant of many treaty for 7 years, and the whole world will be in celebration, jubilation, just like we're seeing right now. But then again, 3.5 years into it, he breaks that, and then that fulfills the sudden destruction that comes upon him as labor pains upon a pregnant woman. But the secondary interpretation of this is, and don't miss this, for this man to get up here and say there will be no World War III and it will not start in the Middle East is simply not true, guys. There is biblical prophetic wars that has not yet transpired in our lifetime, okay? One of those is the prophecy of Damascus, Syria becoming a ruinous heap. You can find that in the book of Isaiah chapter 17, wherein which the prophet foretells a future where Damascus will be completely annihilated and destroyed. That hasn't happened ever. So that right there disproves that statement by Trump. Number two, you have the Psalm 83 war, which is a collaboration or a confederacy of Arab nations that will come together with one purpose, and that is to wipe Israel off the map. That is in Psalms chapter 83. Now, to be fair, some prophetic teachers tell you that was fulfilled in 1973. Okay, I don't believe it was personally, but again, we'll be fair here and say it could be or it could not be. Okay, fine. But then what are you going to do with Gog, Magog, Ezekiel chapter 38? That war has not transpired yet either. And according to the book of Ezekiel, that will happen in Israel's latter years, and a time when Israel is dwelling in peace and security and safety without walls or gates. Okay? That hasn't happened, and it will. Then what are you going to do with Armageddon? That happens in the valley of Megiddo, according to the book of Revelation, where according to the book of Joel, God handpicks and selects nations that he will enter into judgment with because of their participation in dividing Jerusalem. He will put them in the valley of Megiddo, and there he will judge them in a war called Armageddon. So it's simply not true, guys, for Trump to make this statement. It's just simply not true. Then I want to address something else since we've got the time on this broadcast. I want to pull this up. This was also presented to me, so I guess I got to talk about it because people's asked me about it. Did you hear about this? I'm talking about the alleged prophetic word, vision, whatever, by Brandon Biggs. Now, I'm going to come right out and tell you off the bat that I don't care for this man. Again, don't write me any emails and letters and messages and poo-poo me because I don't care for him. Number one, the group that he runs with is the New Apostolic Reformation, or NAR group. Okay? I don't care for that group. We've done entire podcasts on this. I talk about the fallacies of their doctrine, how it's dangerous, what they believe. And this guy is one of those individuals, okay? Number two, and I'm going to tell you why we're talking about this. Let me pull this away because I want to make sure I got some notes on this. I want to make sure that I'm telling you correctly here. Brandon Biggs, who he's real big on YouTube. Some of you people follow him because I've seen you post in the comments. Allegedly, on March 14, 2024, he described a vision of an assassination attempt on Donald Trump where a bullet went by his ear, and there were some events that took place, and people immediately, this is what got him on the radar, by the way. This is what made him popular, and he blew up all over social media, and they're saying, oh, he saw this, he prophesied this. But let me tell you the whole vision, because no, just because you get one piece of it doesn't make it correct, okay? Let me tell you why. In his alleged vision, he said a bullet grazed his ear, bursting his eardrum. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that didn't happen. It did not bust his eardrum. Trump's eardrum was never busted, but he says it. He saw a bullet graze his ear, bursting his eardrum in the vision. Biggs also claimed that Trump fell to his knees and began worshiping the Lord. That didn't happen. Nowhere. No, all the footage, there's not one individual that has come forward. There's no angles to this. Nothing is said that he fell on his knees and began to worship the Lord. Then Biggs says that Trump got, quote, radically born again, becoming, quote, really on fire for Jesus. Okay? Now I want to stop right there because that didn't happen either. And you can say, well, how do you know that, Brother Ricky? How can you judge that? Let me show you why that I believe that didn't happen. Now, this was just yesterday, okay? And I want you to hear this.
You were doing an interview and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help?
I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven, but I've made life a lot better for a lot of people.
Wow. Oh, now, guys, does that sound like someone? I'm just being honest with you. Does that sound like someone who has been radically born again and on fire for Jesus? Is someone who's radically born again and I'm going to make some people mad here, but I'm going to preach the truth, whether you like it or not. I hope you stick around. But if an individual has been radically born again and on fire for Jesus, number one, they're not going to be questioning, well, I don't think I'm going to make it to heaven. I don't think I'm heaven bound. That's not my words. That's his words. He said that not once. He's not only said that once, he said this several times. Okay. Number two, how can a person be truly born again, radically saved, and they still talk the way that this man does? He drops 4-letter words, F-bombs. I've heard him say GD. Okay? Now, again, I know some of you people is going to get mad at me, but I'm just telling you, listen, there's a true story. There was a man, an old man with white hair and a beard and always wore a white suit with a cane. This man, let me give you a little story on this. This man showed up at a revival service in Lexington, Kentucky years ago. And in that service, he got radically born again. He got saved by the Lord. And this man cussed like a sailor. Every word out of his mouth was 4-letter words, colorful words, profanity all the time. But when he got touched, when he had an encounter with the Lord on that night in that church, in that revival service in Lexington, Kentucky, radically saved, from that point forward, everybody who knew him personally said they never heard him cuss again. And this man that I'm talking about is none other than the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders. And he got radically born again at a revival service that was being held by Wayman Rogers at Evangel Prayer Center. At this time was in Lexington, Kentucky. His son, Bob Rogers, ended up taking it over and launched the Evangel World Prayer Center in Louisville, Kentucky. Now they have another branch, they moved their campus to a different location. But the point I'm trying to make is, guys, I can testify to this as well. The old me, everybody who knew me prior to when I became born again, I talk like that. I cuss like a sailor. I was a mean person. I was not a pleasant person to be around. But when I got radically saved and born again on June 2nd of 2000, God completely changed and transformed my life because he put a new nature in me. If any man be in Christ, he's a new creation, and the old has passed away, and behold, all things have become new. So I'm sorry for this individual, Brandon Biggs, to say that the bullet grazed his ear, bust his eardrum, didn't happen. He fell to his knees and began to worship the Lord. Never saw that happen. Never heard any circulating reports on that. And that he got radically born again and he's on fire for Jesus. And I'm sorry, but the fruit doesn't hold up to that. And then Biggs also foresaw Trump winning the presidency amid persecution. He did win the presidency. We'll give him that. But he said it would be followed by an economic crash and eventual revival. Now, here's the thing. Economic crash, could it happen? Sure. Of course it can happen. But this has been going on for a year. I remember when Jonathan Cahn presented the Shemitah and people talked about, oh, there's going to be an economic crash. And we did. We saw one in 2008, but I'm talking about after that. It's been almost every year these economists like Jamie Dimon and different ones have come forward, and we're going to be in another great recession. We're going to have a collapse. We're going to have a depression. We're going to have this, and it didn't happen. It didn't pan out. Could it happen? Sure. I do believe, according to James chapter 5, there will be a great economic shaking that will be greater than the Great Depression. I will agree to that and say that, but you got to understand the language here. These new apostolic Reformation people are all about dominionism and revivals and awakenings. Again, I'm not against revival. I'm not against awakening. Lord knows we need one in this country. But I'm trying to say, guys, is we're called to test the spirits. And I don't like the company this guy runs with. And there's too many holes in this alleged prophecy for me to take it for what it is. Because again, if you go back to the Bible, when these prophets prophesied, there wasn't half truths. They didn't have 75% of it right and 25% of it wrong, or 25% of it right and 75% of it wrong. They had 100% of it right. Now, here's why I'm bringing this up, because this guy has surfaced again, and it's because of what's happening yesterday. Let me read this. A Christian pastor who accurately foresaw the assassination attempt, and that's speculative, on Donald Trump has issued a chilly new warning for the U.S. Brandon Biggs claimed in 2024 that God showed him a vision of a catastrophic magnitude 10 earthquake along the New Madrid fault line. Now, guys, I will say that there has been men of God who I hold them and affirm them to be legit. Pastor John Kilpatrick, Pastor Shane Warren, these two men of God have seen an earthquake on the New Madrid fault line. I myself had a dream about I think it was an 8-point something earthquake that struck in Arkansas. We've got that all documented in a dream that this was several years ago. So again, we got to look at this from a practical perspective. Seismologists, geologists, they've all warned that it's not a matter of if, but when this will happen again. But let's read on. Biggs claimed in 2024 that God showed him a vision of a catastrophic 10 magnitude earthquake along the New Madrid fault line, which stretches through Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Illinois. The Oklahoma pastor said the disaster would strike just 3 days after attempts to divide Jerusalem through the proposed two-state solution, describing it as a 3-day window when people must flee. Now, stop. Okay, now, yesterday, that was not this, because that was not a two-state solution deal, okay? But could there be one in the future? Absolutely. I just talked about that on this program. I agree that's the next big push. Quote, the Lord told me you'll see a 3-day window. That's the time for people to flee. He said in a YouTube video warning of a catastrophe that could potentially kill hundreds of thousands. The vision has resurfaced, here it is, as Trump formally solidified the Israel-Hamas peace plan following the release of the remaining Israeli hostages in Gaza. Again, but this is not for a two-state solution. That is a future event. While the future of Israel and Palestine remains uncertain, Biggs believes these events could trigger devastation in America's heartland. Again, I don't disagree with that. All I'm saying, guys, is personally, when someone asks me my opinion on someone, don't get mad when I tell you it. I don't like the company and the group that this guy runs with. And he's part of this, again, this NAR, New Apostolic Reformation. And those guys, I believe that group is very dangerous of what their beliefs and their theology of dominionism. And they believe this 7 mountain mandate stuff, and that the church is going to conquer these 7 mountains of influence in the world. And they're going to fill the earth with the influence of the kingdom that's going to usher in the King of Kings. That's not biblical. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not biblical at all. Okay, so that's what I have a problem with. They all have this same language that you can pick up on. All right, he goes on and says, he explained that the initial quake along the Niagara Fault would trigger a chain reaction, including a 6.5 magnitude aftershock impacting areas from Texarkana, Texas to Oklahoma. It was so big, there were 1,800 people who died along the stretch. Biggs said all the houses on cinder blocks were completely shaken to the foundation and they just fell. All right, look at this. The strongest earthquake ever recorded was the 1960 Valdivia earthquake in Chile, magnitude 9.5, which occurred in a subduction zone. The NMSZ is a mid-continental fault system, and we're talking about the New Madrid seismic zone. It's a mid-continental fault zone, not a subduction zone that sits on the coast that is prone to much larger earthquakes. While a magnitude 10 is not off the table, scientists have speculated it would only be possible along a fault system that is at least 6,200 miles long. The New Madrid stretch is only 150 miles. So science doesn't back up what he says. Again, I have to be fair here and say, just because science doesn't back up something doesn't mean it can't happen. All I'm telling you guys, you can do what you want with this. You can get mad, whatever. But all I'm saying is use caution with this. This is not based on the history, based on who this guy runs with and the circle of people that he's connected with, and based on the alleged prophecy of Trump and the assassination that had all kinds of holes in that. No pun intended there, but it just did. It was just filled with holes and inaccuracies. I would use much caution on that. But if the thing I would be looking for is the next step to the continuation of this peace deal in the Middle East, and that is the push for a Palestinian state, which you heard that reporter say that Netanyahu is aware of and he's not happy about it, but he has signed off an agreement with this in the future of the establishment of that. If and when that happens, I would be very, very concerned about the New Madrid fault line. Not because Brandon Biggs, quote unquote, saw a vision, but because other men of God have talked about this, and because it has happened before, and it represents the heartland of America. And if we divide Jerusalem, if we divide the heartland of Israel, God will surely break our heartland in pieces himself. All right, guys, so I know this is a lot to unravel. So I want to recap like we always do. When we have these big updates like this, it's always good to just pull it all together and give you a recap of what's going on here. And then we're going to go ahead and close out this podcast. So Donald Trump, who was supernaturally spared by the Lord, has now brokered a Middle East signing of a Gaza deal, Mideast peace. Okay? How long that will last, God himself only knows. We know, based on the information we've provided, that this is just the first step. The next big event, if this holds together, the next big event is going to be the formation of a Palestinian state, which Netanyahu has reluctantly agreed to now, which is absolutely astounding. Number two, we know that if and when that happens, there will be absolute consequences to this. We also know that God supernaturally, again, spared this man because we showed you a magazine that I believe was a prophetic picture and proof that Trump would be raised up for such a time as this to broker the quote-unquote ultimate deal of peace, again, leading us forward to the fulfillment of Daniel 9:27. Consequently, the day that it was signed on October 13th in history on 353 BC, there was men that had a collaborated effort to continue their efforts to build a temple in Jerusalem. It would be the second temple that would eventually be destroyed in 70 AD. And ironically, we now have ambitions to construct a third temple in Jerusalem, which will conveniently be the seat of the headquarters of the future Antichrist, the very one who will broker that Daniel 9:27 covenant. All the while, in the heavens, we have more harbingers, not one, but 3 comets we know of. A fourth, God only knows what this thing is. They believe it's a comet, but then it's doing weird stuff. And it's coming. And all of these things, again, the ancients foresaw these as harbingers, and many times they saw them as harbingers of war. And when you've got one comet, that's one thing, but 4 comets in the heavens during a historic peace treaty that was signed in the Middle East. That's why, again, I can't help but to think about 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. Ladies and gentlemen, you better buckle up, because Jesus said in Luke 21:28, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Listen, guys, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. Please bookmark our site if you've not done yet. If you've not downloaded our free app, what are you doing? It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It takes up hardly any data on your phone. That's how you can keep up with all of our podcasts, our breaking news, our prophecy updates, our headlines. Just download it off the App Store. If you're watching the description of this video, in the description of this video, there's a link that says download our free app. You can click there. Once you do that, hit yes to push notifications, and you're good to go. And you're going to have that notified to you right there at your fingertips, and you won't miss a single broadcast or update when we put those out. If this ministry blesses you and encourages you, informs you, equips you, and you want to partner with us, you want to become a partner of End Time Headlines, I want you to watch this quick video. Hang in there after this video, because this video is going to show you how to do that, and then we'll be right back and we'll close out this podcast. Check it out.
If you enjoy our content and would like to partner with End Time Headlines, helping us make more people aware of the times and seasons which we are in from a prophetic perspective, you can go to endtimeheadlines.org and click Support. Here you can give a one-time gift or a monthly pledge on our main website. This page also shows you how to give electronically through Cash App or Venmo. If you would like to give by check or money order, you can make it out to End Time Headlines at P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. Or you can give through our free End Time Headlines app by pressing the bottom right button that says Donate.
All right, as always, guys, thank you so much for your contribution and your partnership of our ministry. We treasure and value each and every one of you. You guys know who you are that reach out to us to email, messages, and paper mail. And some of you guys have sent us blessings. You send us books, you've sent us information, you've sent us even supplements where, I've talked about dealing with allergies and sinuses. You know who you are. Some of you have sent us all these things, and we love you guys so much. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for your generous support of our ministry. Again, we would not be able to do what we do without your help and your partnership. So guys, we're going to sign off for tonight. Again, Lord willing, we plan on being back tomorrow night on the 15th of October. Again, same time, same place, same channel, right here, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to share this, like this, subscribe, get the word out there. Let people know that things are moving quickly in Jesus' name. So we love you guys. We appreciate you. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.